uncles and cousins and classmates feel. Let us not just add his name to a list that has grown too long, too often, and now has come too close to home. Let me say this out loud. This is not normal. This is not acceptable, and this must not continue. We are all missing someone because of loss to group gun violence or police gun violence or community gun violence. And all the ones we have lost, we wanted to see them grow. We were their friends, laughing at lunch tables with them, dreaming about summer. Why could Amir not get to do that? Why must he be lying still, remembered, and not celebrated? When we say your name today, young man, we say it with enough to the system that plagues us and enough to our souls that accept this culture of violence as our culture. Gun violence has taken too many. I stand here as a mother, the mother of Anthony Linnell Titus, 1 week before the day my son was hit by a bullet intended for another child. I have watched his friends overdose. I have watched them retaliate and return to the prisons, and then inside prison take their own life with fentanyl. I have been a model of what healing looks like. And I've worked on myself first before I served the community. With appetite for change, with standard edition women, just answering a mother's call at 3 in the morning as she screams. I've partnered with innovative solutions to send the YNs or the crash outs to someone who will pour and seek life back into them. People who are doing the work, who've done the work on themselves is what we need. I hear this senseless voice of violence written in the footnotes of trauma, shouted in our silence, and in the screams of that mother at 3 a.m., and that father who can't sleep. And I hear it in the thoughts of his classmates who are going to go to school and wonder who's going to answer their questions of where is my friend. I heard it in the voice of a young man who shot Anthony when I visited him in prison, and he said, "Why don't you just hate me?" Because on that day that I left my home, because my home was not a home. My home was a house with food that was not cooked. My home was a home with a parent that could not cook. My classroom was a school with a teacher that did not understand that I could not sit and learn. My doctor's appointments were filled with people who looked at me with big eyes and assumed that I ate all the bad food that they put in my community. And police officers always thought I was doing something wrong. There are so many violences that happen to young children before a weapon is even introduced. We must reimagine what our children see, what they hear, and the messages that we allow them to believe about themselves. The music, the movies, it all must shift, not to censor and to keep entertainment away, but to heal. We need stories that show survival without violence, strength without domination and supremacy, and manhood without destruction. I've served this community for 30 years, coming from the city of Chicago. And I've asked all the children I've seen if they've liked their teachings. And they've talked about situations that disrupt their harmony, their ability to just be a child in the schools, in those doctor's offices, in this food system. So we're calling those violences out as the system. But today I'm also speaking to the souls of the Black people. Because policy will not save us alone. We need a cultural shift. We must cry in front of our children and hold them when they cry. We must walk 2 by 2. Someone has to ground you in your grief. You cannot do it alone. We have to walk only on those pathways that lead us away from death and towards dignity and a restoration of our humanity. I see us, and I also see our pain. But this is our work. This isn't just a public health crisis. This is a spiritual crisis. It speaks to the profound wounds that are carrying the DNA of our community. This blood sport comes from that systemic violence and how our children respond We must tend to this untreated grief, pain, and trauma and stand in our standards and seek that innovative solution. Gun violence has just become too common as the background noise, and it shakes us every time. It shakes people that are not black. But this time, we need to move. We must demand that policy change. We must demand accountability. You must invest in our communities instead of incarceration, but policy alone ain't gonna do it. So when I'm speaking to the soul of the community, because what we're witnessing isn't just about bullets. It's about these continued acts of violence. They're not random. We know they're coming. How often do we say, did you hear who got shot? Maybe we need to speak them like we celebrate we graduated. Instead of speaking to the violence. What our children and what our people need isn't just punishment. They need nurturing. They need connection. Our children deserve strong attaching relationships, love that's consistent. How can you love when you're broken? Do you know how hard it is to hug my daughter at 19? When I'm torn apart because her brother never got to be 19. We have to show up and not disappear. We need rest, not just sleep, but an emotional safety that allows your nervous system to regulate a deep breath from the chaos. We need freedom to feel our emotions, the anger and the sadness, the joy and the confusion. Not every response has to be an outburst, but these are unspoken cries for help. We need the ability to play outside, in nature, where there's tree canopies, where there's not a food desert. We need real food for these real people. We must create these conditions, though. So I'm not just saying stop what you're doing. I'm saying these are the things we need. Do you have them at home so that you can thrive and just not survive? Don't let shame keep you quiet. Don't let fear keep you isolated, because it's the secrets that keep us sick. I'm going to conclude. This commitment starts at home. When I ask a parent, how are you and how's your children? They say, my children are bad. Everybody makes mistakes. There's no bad children, there's no bad people, there's bad choices. And in this environment, we're offered a lot of bad options. In our programming and messaging about us, we're told a lot of bad, misinformed options. We have to remove the violence, not just from the streets, but from our screens, our headphones, our mouths, and our memories. I lived in the 16 years and 2 weeks that Anthony brushed his teeth, played hockey, and babysat some people's children. That one day before the July, he passed away. And when that hurts me, I'm grounded with women and people like the ones who sit behind me to help me heal. We must learn to live in harmony inside of ourselves and see that in others, we coexist and connect. In our hearts, we must allow the true release of pain. In our minds, we must carry the light of Amir, the light of the lost loved ones, and let that guide us back to love. That's how we build and protect the next generation, 7 generations forward. Not on our watch, not in our silence, and not in our surrender. The work is yours, and it begins right now. Thank you.
It's hard to make sense of a tragedy. It's even harder when the circumstances surrounding that tragedy was caused by 2 children holding guns. You don't expect to hear gunfire at a park full of kids. You don't expect to lose a child on a random summer afternoon. And you never expect to hear that the people with the guns was only 16 and 11 years old.
A balloon release etched in the minds of many. 11-year-old Amir Atkins was shot a month ago in Falwell Park in North Minneapolis. At the time, information was limited.
There's a report that at least one of them had been driving across the grass in the park. And then at some point, a shooting occurred.
We've learned the number of kids with illegal guns in Minnesota has doubled in recent years. We started asking questions after an 11-year-old with a gun was shot and killed by a 16-year-old in Minneapolis.
The number of illegal guns seized by federal agents here in Minnesota from juveniles since 2018, more than 600 total weapons, 150 in 2023 alone.
It is alarming that juveniles are getting access to these firearms.
The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Travis Riddle, says statewide the number of illegal guns seized from juveniles, 17 and under, has doubled in 6 years.
It was June 23rd, just a little over a month ago, at a park in North Minneapolis, when a regular day turned tragic in a matter of seconds. The surveillance footage, along with court documents, tells a disturbing story. It shows a Honda Fit pull up in front of the park's rec center. 2 people come out from the building and head toward the car. But then, out of nowhere, 2 separate cars, a Kia Optima and a Hyundai Tucson, come flying into the park, fast and reckless. In the front passenger seat of the Optima, an 11-year-old boy named Amir Atkins was seen leaning out the window, holding what appeared to be a gun. And that's when it happened. Someone who's only being identified as a 16-year-old dove into the backseat of the Honda Fit, grabbed a gun, and came out firing on the approaching cars. In the chaos, Amir was shot in the head. Officers found him a few blocks away in the backseat of the Kia. He was later pronounced dead. How did we get to the point where 11-year-old boys and 16-year-old boys stopped getting ready for their first dates and instead started getting ready for their first wars?
First thing I thought about was, why do they have guns?
Community activist Angela Williams, a mother of 5, is pushing for change, including a community summit at Falwell Park, where Amir Atkins was shot and killed on June 23rd.
We have to, as a community, start telling where the guns are. We have to. If not, we're gonna die by the gunfire.
Williams says no one should turn a blind eye when they see an illegal gun. She says violence interrupters should join forces with neighborhood associations, and that police and neighborhood watch groups need to have higher visibility. And she says parents need to step up.
The black parents have got to stop being scared of their kids, stop trying to be their friend, and just run your household. Manage your household. Secure your household.
The 16-year-old who is not being identified by the courts because of his age is not being charged with murder at this time. Instead, prosecutors are charging him with unlawful possession of a firearm by a minor. According to the county's attorney's office, the shooting was an act of self-defense. I'm gonna leave that for y'all to let me know what you think about that. So don't forget to speak your mind in the comments. As expected, Amir's family isn't buying it.
Wearing t-shirts emblazoned with Amir Atkins' baby photo, loved ones of the 11-year-old gathered outside the Hennepin County Juvenile Justice Center Thursday afternoon as a suspected gunman was arraigned inside.
It's really about the justice for Amir. Kids gonna be kids, but it's not justifiable for you to just kill them.
That suspect, a 16-year-old high school junior-to-be, is charged with weapons possession as a minor. Fox 9 is not publicly identifying him because of his age. He is accused of opening fire on Atkins last month in Minneapolis' Falwell Park, in what prosecutors have so far concluded is a case of self-defense. Atkins' family outraged.
In your mind, this is not a self-defense case.
No. This is murder.
According to the juvenile court filings in the case, the broad daylight encounter was captured on surveillance video from the nearby rec center. It apparently shows Amir leaning out from the front passenger seat of a Kia, holding what appears to be a firearm as the vehicle veered towards the shooter's location. The suspect can then be seen diving into a separate vehicle, grabbing a gun and shooting. Atkins was killed. His uncle Marvin Walker tells me the family disputes that his nephew was armed.
They are presenting that 11-year-old boy had something in his hand, but can't identify it as a gun, but can identify a 16-year-old boy having a gun shooting it. That's a little bit of controversy there, you know?
We don't tell these stories to add to the violence. We tell these stories so we can face it, name it, and hopefully change something. Because our kids shouldn't be dying in parks. Stay aware, stay safe, and take care of each other. And if you see something, speak up, because silence has a body count.
How did two of these young babies get access to these firearms?
A question Mohammed Abdul-Ahad with Touch Outreach says is crucial to find an answer for in order to save young lives.
I know it's not on just solely on the county or, MPD. We have to come together also as a community to do better at, holding our youth accountable.
He hopes this tragedy will be the turning point to ending youth gun violence.
We can do better, and I believe that, it takes a village.